Hello, gorgeous.
You see, in this world, there's two kinds of people, my friend.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
You're tearing me apart!
On your butt.
Round up the usual suspects.
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
And we're live! Yes! How you guys doing? This is Midnight Movie Nerds. My name is Louis.
I'm Princess Naomi.
Princess Naomi.
Who's always right.
She was saying that I was on the opposite side.
Will y'all back me up? It's like frozen
sure.
right now.
This is Midnight Movie. Oh, that's really throwing me off. But anyways, today, you want to go ahead and give the news of what we will be doing today?
Why me?
Because this is your baby.
It's not my baby.
It's
It's my dream come true.
Yeah, that.
On so many levels.
So, who are we going to be talking about? Because the audience is like completely thralled right now, trying to figure out what the hell.
All none of them.
Well. They'll jump on now. See? Somebody's on.
Somebody's on?
Yeah. Oh, look. Hey, Jason. How you doing?
Hey, Jason.
William. How you doing?
He's going to rip on you later about this.
Oh, yeah, probably. So go. Give your infatuation with the man.
The man.
The
man. Legend.
That's right.
The beautiful. I'm going to mess up your little display.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I knew you were going to do it.
No, his face isn't on this one. Oh, there it is. And it's a beauty shot, too. I am not doing this right.
So which one of the two? Because there's two of them on there.
The only one worth talking about.
Hey, no. DiCaprio is pretty fucking awesome, too.
Well, that is not who we were talking about today. We were talking about why am I doing this? The daddy of Hollywood, the most amazing actor ever, Mr. Tom Hanks.
Yes.
Yes!
Indeed.
My obsession.
You ruined my movies.
I know. Buck up. It's Tommy! Yay! I'm so excited.
I bet you are. I bet you are.
I love Tommy.
So how do you want to start it off?
I want to explain my obsession, I think.
Okay, go. Explain.
I'm obsessed because, the degrees of separation between me and Tommy are getting closer. Not only do I have a shrine to him in my house, it's true.
It is.
We don't celebrate Thanksgiving. We celebrate T-Hanksgiving. And we only watch Tom Hanks movies that day, and all the food is themed around Tom Hanks.
I was privy to this last year.
You know, you have to love me for my sickness. This is my sickness.
Yeah. It's almost as bad as my Kubrick obsession, but yes.
And, dudes, the realm of distance between me and Tommy is getting less. I figured it out because, he worked for Disney. Yes, on the movie side, but I worked for Disney. I've shaken someone's hand who has shaken someone's hand who's shaken his hand, so how much more closer could you get? And I have ridden the Toy Story ride, which I'm sure Tom Hanks rode at some point. So, and there are only so many cars, so if I keep going on it enough, the odds are my butt will one day be in the same spot where Tom Hanks was.
I'm pretty sure it's sanitized now.
I don't care. The essence will still be there. He's magical. The essence will stay.
The swamp ass?
Yeah.
The swamp ass essence?
And
is that what you're talking about?
And he's been to Florida a lot because of Apollo 13, and he visited the Kennedy Space Center. I mean, clearly, it's like we're this. Tommy, you and me. The obsession's real, dude. I swear.
Yes, it really is. But let's talk about the movies why he's shaped our culture and why he shaped our obsession for some people. And it's true fascination on my side, honestly, because he is one of the Hollywood darlings of our time, I think. I think he has that classic Hollywood-esque feel to him.
Well, I think he's one of the only actors who... You just can't get past it, can you? I think he's one of the only actors that has transcended going from youth to grandfather age, essentially, successfully.
The youths.
But think about it. When he started, he was in his young, early 20s when he really got his start, when he was on that TV show. I don't remember what it was called, Bosom Buddies or something like that.
Something like
where
that.
he was dressing like a woman. But think about it. It's very hard, I think, for a male actor to never have a significant pause in his career while he moves from one area to another, to the comedy, and then being able to successfully transition to the romantic lead, successfully to more of the dad-husband role, and then again to more of a grandfather role like we were talking about.
I think he did in the 80s. He actually did most of these rom-coms, most of these like kind of admiration roles.
But you think of people like, I would say, like a Ryan Reynolds, who was major into comedy, which Tom Hanks was. He transitioned into romantic leads. He's done some action movies, but it's not as successful, I don't think. I don't think it's as seamless.
No, not
and I think
as
you can
much as
feel
him.
that it's not, it doesn't feel effortless. And I think that's the big thing, is that Tommy's been able to take on every range of movie. I don't think they're, minus action, probably.
He really hasn't broken into
say,
action, I'll give you that.
But I would say every other genre he's covered.
Yeah, he has.
Even kind of weird with Lady Killers.
Yes.
Like, so he's gone into that dark realm. He's never been afraid of taking those movies and those roles. Sort of like when we were talking about Tim Curry.
Yeah.
Those roles that he knew they wouldn't be successful.
I agree. And I think he takes his chances every decade, but he manages to make Oscar-winning films every freaking decade. And he finds a way to yes, like Saving Private Ryan, Castaway, Forrest Gump, and Toy Story. Jason, you're 100% right. Those are
Thank you for listing those.
Some of the many, because he started off with Splash, then he went on to the Burbs.
The Burbs, The Money Pit.
Yes, Money Pit, which is so good.
Yeah.
So good.
Oh my god, I love that movie so much. But the thing about those movies is they were almost slapstick.
Yeah.
Which, you know,
but that
like,
was his 80s genre.
But you think of like how he got his start with that Bosom Buddies thing where he's dressing up like a woman, and that kind of failed. And I think he was on Happy Days for an episode too.
Yeah.
But then he transitioned into these weird slapstick or like Dragnet.
Yeah.
These things where he was the comedy element against these straight, more serious actors, and you kind of look at those movies then and you go, oh, okay, well, you know, he's kind of this, like, would he be someone who would be able to transition into more serious acting?
And he does, though.
But he totally does.
Especially
in, like, The Burbs, where he plays the straight man, and he's so funny because of it.
He is so great in The Burbs. That movie is one of those really underappreciated films.
That movie was my life growing up.
Yes.
But not Tom Hanks. My family was the Klovacs. My family was the type that I swear to God would have bones and be digging in the backyard in the rain. My family was the Klovacs, totally.
Like, I identify with the military guy. I would totally be that guy. Like, with the wife and everything. Like,
now.
And I just totally love that movie. That movie has so many vivid personalities. And Tom Hanks still manages to pop. Even playing the straight man with so many actors.
And with Carrie Fisher.
And with Carrie Fisher.
Carrie Fisher, who was like a freaking amazing in that movie.
Freaking legend. I mean, come on.
I know.
And they still managed to kind of sidetrack in there. Mm-hmm. And yes, the next one that he goes into is, which I know a lot of people love this movie. I have an appreciation for it, which is big. But I like what it did for him. I think it put him more into the mainstream.
See, I feel like some of those movies that people talk about with him are like what we've talked about before, where they're the movies that everyone says that they love.
Yeah.
And they're kind of like, they become associated with the actor just so heavily, but then you lose some of the other magic that they've done during that time. Like, for me, I think more of his offbeats. I would take, like, a Dragnet or Money Pit or Burbs over Big.
I take Money Pit and the Burbs, yes. But I also enjoyed Splash, too, a lot.
But you know what I hate is he did Turner and Hooch, which I can't forgive. I can't forgive that.
That was payback, though, for what he called Splash. He agreed to do Splash as long as he had to do another film with this particular producer, and he got stuck with Turner and Hooch. Because Tommy even says it, that he didn't want to do that film.
I think you can see it, too. It's not one of his better movies.
He's not. And then
I think you can see it when he's not engaged with a project earlier in his career, when he was still in that thing where he was auditioning for movies, and you can see, like, he was not in control like he is now.
Dude.
The difference now,
that's the thing.
night and day between who he is now. But
let's go into the 90s. Let's go into the 90s now,
which I call the golden age of Hanks.
100%.
I think he dominated Hollywood in the 90s. He was the go-to actor. He was in a movie or two or three every year.
Yeah.
That's when he was winning his Academy Awards. I would call that his major transition, too. From slapstick comedy to more of his serious roles, where he was able to bridge that gap successfully for the first time in his career.
Where do you think he started off in that golden age, really?
Like, which movie do I think was the biggest turning point?
Yes.
I would probably say League of Their Own, because he was a likable, unlikable character. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Which
like
I have
Jimmy
to revisit
Dugan.
that movie.
Jimmy Dugan is one of my favorite characters ever, but he's actually kind of an asshole, and that's why he's so awesome. But I would say that and Sleepless in Seattle, because that was also his turn to more of a serious romantic comedy. He was a dad in that movie too, which is another switch. He wasn't just a straight on. I mean, he was a dad in The Burbs, but the kid was a non-element, as opposed to Sleepless in Seattle, where the kid was a huge element, and the movie went around that. And it's also revisiting his partnership with Meg Ryan. Yes. So that rom-com, but it was more of a serious. It was actually a very sad movie when you think about it.
It really
so I think that was that time, and it gave him the catalyst to be able to do his Academy Award-winning performances, which would lead us to Philadelphia,
which was an amazing. It was Oscar bait film. It gave him the catalyst to be able to really go and show his acting freaking chops, because the man pushed to the limits.
But I think that film was groundbreaking in itself, because it
really
brought that issue into the forefront.
Not only did it bring the issue, but it brought it in an entertaining manner, which was very hard to do.
Well, you have to toe the line even now with that subject matter. So, and he did it successfully.
He did.
But then
managing to be that type of actor and transition into a serious film like that really took a lot.
But I think you're also seeing the beginning of when he was taking on those roles that he tends towards now.
Yeah.
Those very serious. I mean, he can still do funny. He still does funny, but these are more. He was able to graduate in terms of being a stronger leading man.
I think
that's sort of when he became that king of Hollywood. Before that, in the 80s, he was that go-to, sort of like a Ryan Reynolds. Like, if you're going to do a funny movie, let's throw Tom Hanks in it. But he wasn't the powerhouse that he became.
I think it took into the mid-90s. Yeah, mid-90s, probably like 95,
I would say 94, 95, because he did Forrest Gump and Apollo 13 back-to-back during that time.
Exactly. And then he broke into animation at that time, too, with Toy Story, which was, 95?
95 for the first one, yeah.
95 was the first one. So he broke that barrier.
And that was definitely a time where it was more like popular actors were taking on voicing, as opposed to before, where you could be only known as a voice actor or be an unknown in animation. And I think Toy Story, Pixar was one of those things where they were more inclined to use A-list actors to lend their voice to it.
Yeah, and this was also Pixar starting off. Mm-hmm. So this was the beginning of Pixar.
Might have given them the push they needed too. Yeah, have someone like him and Tim Allen.
I think both that duel really broke the mold for them, and it gave them that push to be able to make better and bigger movies. Honestly, what else did he work on after that? He had Saving Private Ryan in '98. So we're skipping a couple because he did. Saving Private Ryan is a very uneven movie. It's a Spielberg film, but the first half of the film is really good, and then the second half it drags to. But he shows his acting chops.
I cannot forgive that film because, spoiler alert, he dies in it. I cannot forgive that. I cry when I watch that. I'm going to sit Shiva when I watch it. I'll be in mourning afterward because he dies, and that makes me sad.
Jewish.
Oy vey. But I love him in that movie. I love him in that movie. I don't actually care for that movie in general.
The movie, it doesn't... There's something missing about that movie.
I feel like
it doesn't have heart.
And I feel like Matt Damon was still kind of awkward in his acting at that time.
That's an all-star cast on there.
But he wasn't. But I feel like they don't have chemistry.
They don't.
That's the problem, and maybe that's intentional because it's Spielberg, and chemistry is something that he's generally pretty good at in his movies and casting the right people. And it's supposed to be an uncomfortable situation that people don't really. I mean, they're thrown together. Soldiers aren't always going to have that, so maybe that was intentional. But I don't like that movie.
But
I saw it twice, and I'm like, I'm good. I don't need to see it again.
I love watching it for the action sequence at the beginning. That battle sequence is just
watch the first 11 minutes and call it a day.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
I've probably seen the whole film through maybe twice.
Yeah, exactly, right? Once
in theater, and it's like...
I tend to try to watch a movie twice, especially if I don't like it the first time through, because you might not have been in the right mood for it.
Exactly.
Or maybe you see it later on and you can appreciate it on a different level. And we talked about that before, that sometimes you watch a movie when you're younger, and you can't really appreciate all the levels because you don't really understand what it's like to go through that, and then later on it makes sense and you can identify with it.
Yeah.
So I tried to do that. I tried it with Saving Private Ryan, and I didn't like it the second time, and I was like, I'm good. I don't need to watch this film again. I've done it twice.
So after Saving Private Ryan...
Castaway was next on our list, and coming in at 2000.
Wilson. I love Wilson.
This movie, though, Castaway is one of the ones. It's 90% him alone.
Yeah.
And I think
he
that
carries
takes
that movie, dude.
That takes talent as an actor. The only person I've ever seen really successfully pull it off would be Matt Damon, and that movie that was The Martian, where he was alone. But he was able to carry being alone in a lot of scenes successfully. He was, but not in the same level.
I wouldn't call it successful.
I think so. The Martian's awesome. That's a great movie.
Right.
No, it's entertaining.
Right.
It's entertaining, and it's hard for an actor to carry a movie on its own.
Question your taste, but
I question your taste. Do you like Braveheart?
I love Braveheart.
Freedom!
That movie is freaking epic.
No,
right?
I like The Martian. I think it was funny, and it was a good take on the book.
I never read the book, so I don't know.
Anyways. Matt. But I mean, like, okay, but that would be the most comparable I can think of in terms of a movie where someone was alone the whole time.
He did a good job carrying that movie, 100%.
In Castaway.
Yeah.
The only part about Castaway I don't like is Helen Hunt. But I think anyone would.
But everybody else is a throwaway character in the movie, so honestly, it's like
she annoys me in general. So.
But what else is after that, though? I think
then we're moving on to later because Castaway was 2000.
Okay, so that's the end of his prime, his golden era, really.
I wouldn't say his prime. I would say it's when he came into Tommyhood.
It's his Oscar-winning performances.
I love you, Tommy. If you ever see this, I know you're bored in Australia because I stalk you on Facebook. So I follow your gloves around. And I know you're in Australia right now with Rita. Love you, Rita.
So this gets us to the next,
the
basically
third
era,
stage of what we're saying is Tommy's career,
which is his biopic era. Because honestly, about 80% of the movies that are pretty much after 2001, 2002, it's all biopics. The man had a hard-on for freaking biopics.
A lot of it, but I think the thing is that he is the one who could transform and take on those roles. And again, you are talking huge mega pictures, and it's who has the talent to take on those roles.
I would say he's hit or miss after this era. I would say probably after 2011, he really gets hit or miss.
Well, but some of them, I think they were more controversial in the fact that he kind of didn't give an F anymore. Like, he was picking the ones he wanted to. No, he was picking the ones he wanted to do.
All right, so he starts off the era with Catch Me If You Can, which, in my opinion, is
one of the best movies ever. If you say anything different about that, I'll smack you.
It's in my top 50. Come on.
No, movie.
This is probably my favorite Tommy movie, honestly.
It is one of the really good ones.
It is my number one, for sure.
I think it is the pinnacle of him being the straight man, but being hilarious in that role. Sort of like That Thing You Do, which we don't have on the list, which was mid-90s too, I think. That Thing You Do is another one where he was the straight man, but he was really funny in it too. But Catch Me If You Can is like the epitome of a perfect Tom Hanks movie to me, and that pairing with Spielberg again.
Exactly.
Which was kind of iconic of that time as well, the Spielberg-Hanks pairing.
Which, that was classic though. This was real Tommy going Tommy. This was him being him. And I think, yes, you don't want to put him into a mold and all that stuff, but he had a real persona for certain characters, and this was one that
Carl Hanratty, yeah.
And then right after The Terminal, which is very similar, I think, to Catch Me If You Can, the character-wise. The performance that Tommy does, besides obviously the fact that he's Russian.
It's not Russian.
Isn't he Russian?
No, it's
he's that random
that weird country, that little country, yeah.
So whatever. One of the Yugoslavia countries.
Stanley Tucci in that movie when he's describing it and he busts the chips. Remember? No more.
So some Yugoslavian country that fell apart. Basically Russia. Let's be honest.
It's not basically Russia. I feel like Russia would complain about that.
It was considered part of the USSR. That means it's part of Russia. All right. So Yugoslavian dude that's stuck in an airport, and the fact that he has to invent all these things, it gives that feel of Castaway, it gives that feel of Catch Me If You Can. It has that persona.
But I think the thing that makes these movies especially good is the fact that they were based off of real people.
Yes.
And one of his talents, one of his gifts, despite what you may think about it, is the fact that he really does take time to learn the mannerisms and the background story and what motivates the people. I saw a really funny interview with him once where he told someone, and I forget who it was, he had this really intense interview with them because he wanted to learn their background and story, and he was like, now, I'm going to do things that you would never do, and I'm going to say things that you would never say, but I want to be as much like you as possible. Like, and I find that to be funny, but true, because he does. He looks like, especially, I think, this is skipping ahead a little bit, Saving Mr. Banks, when he wanted to take on Disney, which is not one of my favorite Tommy movies. It's actually pretty low on my list, but I do give him credit for trying to embody the mannerisms and character that he was trying to bring to life, because I think it's harder as an actor when you are trying to give credibility to somebody who's an icon, like when he took on Mr. Rogers, which is an icon in another movie I didn't really care for very much.
It really wasn't that great.
He was trying to pay homage to somebody, but that might be where his movies are faltering, because he's not Tommy creating and building a character. It's Tommy trying to portray somebody and being so true to that it's boxing him into a corner as an actor.
Charlie Wilson's War, Larry Crowne, Captain
Larry
Phillips.
Crowne. I love Larry Crowne.
That is the best of the biopics, though. Right there. Catch Me If You Can.
Larry Crowne's not a biopic, though.
Larry Crowne is. It's based on a true story, isn't it?
No.
I thought
It was
based
written
on
by
a
that
true
chick
story.
who did Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Oh. Okay, so
Which I think Rita Wilson, his wife, was the reason that Playtone Records got, his production company got involved with Big Fat Greek Wedding, because she is Greek. And she connected with the story. I'm pretty sure that I read that somewhere, that's why that became under his... He's not in it, but that's how he got to know the woman who wrote it, and she wrote Larry Crowne.
Yeah. Bridge of Spies, Sully, all these movies, they're...
Bridge of Spies, I fell asleep during.
They're really not great.
I'm sorry, Bridge of Spies, I feel like you could cut out 40 minutes of that movie and it wouldn't have been hurt.
About an hour, I would say.
Yeah, it's a very slow movie. It's slow.
It's
That's the problem with a lot of these movies. Even Captain Phillips, it's very slow. And I didn't hate Captain Phillips, but it was slow. You know which movie I didn't get?
Cut it in
that
half.
weird movie. Oh my god, that weird movie that we were talking about.
Cloud Atlas.
Cloud Atlas. What the hell?
I like
Tommy,
that movie.
were you on drugs? Of course you would like that. Tommy, I think he was on drugs when you did that movie.
It's the Wachowski brothers. It's the guys the chicks that did The Matrix.
It's sort of like Lady Killers. I don't like that one either because it's weird.
I love the Lady Killers.
See, you're seeing a trend here. The movies you love, I'm like, and the movies I love, you're like,
Coen Brothers.
No, that movie is weird.
It is the worst Coen Brothers film, but it's still fucking good.
No, it's horrible. It's weird.
It is still good.
Oh, the one person still watching us, please agree.
Somebody, say something, please. Save me from this. Oh.
No, you got ditched.
How can you not like Lady Killers? Come on.
Lady Killers is just weird. I didn't like it. He was weird in it.
I would say that it is the worst Coen Brothers film, but that's not saying much because the Coen Brothers are fucking amazing.
If I had to pick, I would say of his, in the last decade, Larry Crowne would be my favorite. And that was 2011, so that was a while ago.
Yeah.
Like, the other ones that have come, I mean, I've watched them, I appreciate them, but they're not in my top on any level. I think Captain Phillips, of the biopic longer ones, would probably be the one that I would pick would be Captain Phillips, because I like the guy who played the pirates in it, actually. That was interesting to me, because he actually said that he had to, try to get time off of work from Verizon, I think, as a salesman to go to the Academy Awards. Because he couldn't afford it. They were and they were so excited, because, they wouldn't let them meet Tommy in advance, because they wanted the reactions to be real, so all these Somalian pirates are waiting, and they're so intimidating having to walk in and interact with Tommy, because they wouldn't let him interact before, because they wanted it to build that tension in that first scene. But he's sitting there on the side going, I get to meet Tommy, but he had to be really mean to him during it, because he was a Somalian pirate. So I find that to be interesting watching the movie, because I think that was one of those movies where it relied so much on their eyes and very more physical acting than the words, because he's a hostage, so a lot of what he does, he's not talking.
Yeah.
So I think that reckons back to what I love about Tommy and his golden era, like Apollo 13, where so much wasn't his
I love
physical.
Apollo 13. Oh my god, that movie is a slow movie.
Okay,
but man, it makes you
him and Gary Sinise,
dude, yeah,
Kevin Bacon, all of them, Bill Paxton.
It's
you're
amazing. White knuckled.
That is the
film.
Golden era of Hollywood, though. That is the dream team of Hollywood all together.
That really is.
And it was. I love that movie. I think that's a cliche to say that, but I love Apollo 13. It is one of my favorite movies that he did.
I'd agree. What do you think, out of the early era of Tommy, what would you say is your favorite movie?
Are we talking the 80s?
Yes.
I'd probably say The Money Pit, but I really love Shelley Long in that movie, and I love the dynamic, and it reminds me a lot of my home life growing up.
Okay.
Because that's legit, how my house was, and I identify with them now. Like I said, when I was a kid, I thought it was just hilarious, but now as an adult, I'm like, Oh, that's why my mom had headaches all the time. Yeah, that makes sense now. And when the roof fell in on my condo,
yeah,
I literally called it the Money Pit. I renamed it to the Money Pit.
Yeah, I could see that.
So
mine would definitely be the Burbs.
I love the Burbs as well.
Stands out. Now, classic era 90s, basically.
That's really, really hard. That's really hard. It would probably be for a toss-up between A League of Their Own and Apollo 13. I love Forrest Gump too, but
it's overrated.
Apollo 13 for me it's got that dream team, and I think he plays so much on his relationships, him and Gary Sinise, which is probably why I like Forrest Gump. I like Gary Sinise in that movie.
I would say
I love the pairing up, but Apollo 13 would probably be but I love A League of Their Own so much too.
I would say Apollo 13. That is the one that holds for me 100%.
Which is always the surprise too that he didn't win an Academy Award for that one.
Seriously. That was kind of
I forget what won instead, but...
It was what year again?
95?
It was released in 95? So I think that was Titanic.
Was it?
That might have been Titanic.
But Titanic didn't take it for lead, because that was Leonardo DiCaprio, right?
I think... No, he... I don't know. Let's see which one. But anyways, how about the latter half of the career? The biopics.
Catch Me If You Can and Larry Crown would be my toppers.
Mine would definitely be Catch Me If You Can.
Catch Me If You Can is another one of those. It's like, again, it's the relationships. It's that magic between the characters and the actors. Him and Leonardo DiCaprio did an amazing job in that movie. Yes. And it's one of my favorite Leonardo DiCaprio movies, too.
Tommy did take it.
Not in... No.
For Forrest Gump.
Yeah, but what about Apollo 13 then? He didn't win for Apollo 13, so maybe that would be 96. It came out in 95, so maybe it's 96 Academy Awards?
Let's see.
He didn't win for Apollo 13. Oh my god, is that Braveheart I see? Oh, god.
Oh, that just made my day.
That just made me want to vomit in my mouth.
But actually, Best Actor was Nick Cage for Leaving Las Vegas. That was a great movie, but I would not say over Apollo 13. Definitely not.
Maybe it's because everyone just assumed because he took it the last 2 years before for Philadelphia and then Forrest Gump. Everyone assumed that he would take it for Apollo 13.
Probably, I would say. That's probably the reason why, honestly. Let's see, hold on. I want to see the nominees. Hold on, so... Mel Gibson won.
I thought you said that Nicolas Cage won.
The, what do you call it? Braveheart.
Oh. Horrible movie. Can we talk about how horrible it is? And how horrible anyone who likes that movie, their taste in movies, how suspect they are then?
He wasn't even nominated.
No.
Holy shit.
That's why I think it was such a shocker.
Which actually, you know who was nominated? Richard Dreyfuss for Mr. Holland's Opus. Fucking love that movie. Yeah. That movie. Anthony Hopkins and Nixon, Sean Penn and Dead Man Walking.
That was a good year for movies.
Yeah.
The 90s was good, though.
And The Postman, Marismo Teruzzi.
The 90s was a good time in Hollywood.
Yeah, it really was, dude. Wow. And look at the supporting actor. Kevin Spacey, Usual Suspects.
Yeah.
James Cromwell for Babe. Ed Harris for Apollo 13.
Ed Harris. Oh my god. I love him in that movie. Ed Harris.
Yeah. Brad Pitt, 12 Monkeys. Tim Roth, Rob Roy.
Oh, Tim Roth. I like Tim Roth.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was a strong year. But wrapping up overall, Tom Hanks is a fucking classic actor.
I love Tommy.
Yeah.
My shrine.
You know her opinion. So that goes without saying.
My absolute shrine in my apartment. Yay. I figure that connects us even further because if he touched the photo, his DNA was on there for a minute.
Yeah.
So.
And we both have autographs of Tommy.
We're further connected. You and me, Tommy.
That's right.
If you see this, we're even more connected.
And don't worry, she's not gonna, proper stalk you.
I'm not. I don't. You have bail money, right?
Let's end this right now. So thank you guys for tuning in. And she's going to disappear for a bit because we don't want any lawsuits on hand. So we are Midnight Movie Nerds. My name is Lewis.
I'm Naomi.
And catch us next time when we do our next live stream, which will probably be next week. Maybe?
Probably.
Yeah, we could probably do it on Thursdays.
Tell us what you want to hear.
Yeah. And then on Wednesdays, we drop a new episode on the podcast site. So please go on to manbitesfilm.com, look up the Manbitesretro, and it will be all under there, and you can check out all our latest, greatest stuff. So stay tuned, and we can't wait to hear from you guys, what you guys want us to hear and do next time.
Woohoo!